years. It's believed that the man to the right of Umarov could be the Domodedovo bomber. Umarov said the man was being sent to Moscow to carry out a special operation. Well, the Russian authorities haven't identified the man, but the Russian media say they have. They have named him as 20-year-old Magomed Yevloyev from Ingushetia, neighboring Chechnya in the North Caucasus. All sides are now waiting for the official response from the investigatory body. They will present their findings to the lower house of parliament, the Duma, later on Tuesday.
3 teenage boys have been shot dead in an apparent gang attack in Ciudad Juarez. The border city has become a battleground for drug cartels fighting a turf war. Frank Contreras has more from Mexico City.
Mexicans are mourning the deaths of at least 5 more people in drug-related violence. The first case happened in the northern Mexican city of Ciudad Juarez, located just across the border from Texas. It appears now that 3 teenagers were killed over the weekend in drug-related violence. They were sitting down having lunch at a taco stand. They got up to look at some auto parts, and apparently a group of armed men decided to show up and opened fire on those young men. U.S. authorities and U.S. officials, school officials, are now confirming that at least 2 of those teenagers were indeed U.S. citizens. The families say it was a case of mistaken identity. And in the Pacific coastal city of Tepic, Nayarit, bodyguards who were protecting a high-ranking naval officer were killed at a shopping center. The officer had just gotten out of his vehicle, went into a restaurant when armed men decided to open fire, killing those 2 bodyguards in front of what were probably hundreds of eyewitnesses, those eyewitnesses running for cover and waiting for protection for at least an hour until the area was secure. And so the kind of drug-related violence that has plagued Mexico continues here, with more than 35,000 people killed since President Felipe Calderón launched his war on drugs in December 2006.
WikiLeaks found Julian Assange faces the second day of an extradition hearing in the UK on Tuesday. He's wanted for questioning, of course, in Sweden over those accusations of sexual assault. His defence lawyer believes it'll be a flagrant denial of justice if the extradition goes ahead. Lawrence Lee reports.
Arriving at court, Julian Assange looked relaxed and less tense than he sometimes does, surrounded by high-profile celebrities, human rights supporters, and urged on by a group of young protesters who see the dark hand of the CIA behind this rape case. His team had tried to steal a march on the prosecutors by publishing his defence against the allegations online, all very WikiLeaks, and they sought to dismantle the extradition case. His defence team argues the Swedish prosecutor doesn't have the right to issue a European arrest warrant. They're concerned the trial would be held in secret with no chance of open justice. They also call it an abuse of process because Assange has offered himself for questioning but was turned down. They also argue Assange is the victim of illegal, corrupt behaviour by the Swedish prosecutors, and that any extradition could lead to his deportation to the United States, where he could face the death penalty. The prosecution insists Assange did use violence in his sexual activities in Sweden and tried to play down fears that the case is a ruse to clear the way for an extradition to the United States. The defence team here have started to produce witnesses to try to undermine the extradition case against Julian Assange. They're first, a female retired Swedish judge who says she had more than 30 years' experience in criminal law. She said she regarded the prosecutor's evidence in Sweden against Assange as peculiar and malicious, and the prosecutor as having biased views against men. Yet when the prosecutor here tried to ask her questions, she suddenly found it very difficult to explain Swedish law in English, or even at times to understand some of the questions. Another witness suggested one of the alleged victims had changed her story.
That 48 hours after the crime, the alleged crime, she volunteered to become Julian Assange's personal press secretary. The story given to the police does not bring up those instances.
And Assange himself told the media he was feeling more confident, and so did his supporters.
5.5 months. We have been in a condition where a black box has been applied to my life. And on the outside of that black box has been written the word rape. That box is now, thanks to an open court process, being opened. And I hope over the next day we will see that that box is in fact empty and has nothing to do with the words that are on the outside of it.
I think that some of the evidence came through, which is a very good news, that the truth is emerging.
The hearing is scheduled to end on Tuesday. There may or there may not be a final ruling on the extradition. Lawrence Lee, Al Jazeera in London.
In an unprecedented move, Tunisia's parliament passed emergency powers for the interim president. It comes as the main ruling party, the RCD, was suspended from all political activity. Nazanin Mashiri reports.
Democracy Tunisian style. Protesters try to stop politicians entering parliament. They're activists and lawyers who suffered under Ben Ali. And now they want this institution dissolved and the old faces of the regime out.
These nominated member of parliament are part of this regime, and we do not like them, and we do not accept them.
And inside Tunisia's parliament, scenes this country could only have dreamt of. Opposition politicians vent their anger at the RCD. The former ruling party was suspended on Sunday, but their members of parliament have retained their seats for now at least. And there were more big changes. An emergency vote was passed which gives extra powers to the interim president. So crucially, an election date can now be decided. Tunisia's Prime Minister told me it's an important step.
We will be able to fulfill our responsibilities, engage in a democratic path, and ensure human rights and fundamental liberties, as well as move our country forward.
What the Prime Minister, Mohamed Ghannouchi, is trying to do is unite Parliament and also the country behind this interim government. He says it's the only way not only to solve the economic situation, but also to bring back security to the streets. There's still frustration here. These protesters blame the police for the deaths of 3 demonstrators in the past few days. Weeks on from the Jasmine Revolution that brought about a dictator's downfall, violence and tension still remain. Nazanin Mashiri, Al Jazeera, Tunis.
A fire swept through several warehouses in Rio de Janeiro, destroying costumes and floats that were to be used in the city's forthcoming carnival. Fire crews battled for 4 hours to control the blaze. Some samba schools lost 90% of their stock. But Rio's mayor said that the carnival will go on. And residents of the English town of Northampton can sleep safer tonight after one of their own fought back against a group of attackers. When a gang armed with sledgehammers tried to rob this jeweller's, help was close at hand in the unlikely form of a grandmother. Armed with nothing more than her handbag, look at this, she confronted the men and forced some of them to flee. 4 of the 6 men have now been arrested, and the 70-plus super grand has been hailed as a handbag heroine. This is Al Jazeera, and here are the stories making headlines. Protesters in Egypt have called for another mass demonstration on Tuesday. The new rallying cry comes as a leading activist was released from custody, while Ghonim was behind the Facebook page credited with setting off the uprising.
First of all, I send my condolences to all the people who were killed. It was a peaceful revolution. We didn't want to do any damage. Don't focus your cameras on me. I'm not a hero. The real heroes are the youth who are behind this revolution. By God's will, we're going to clean this country of this rubbish.
A Chechen separatist leader says he ordered the suicide bombing that killed 36 people at Moscow's main airport last month. In a video posted on an Islamist website, Doku Umarov describes the attack on Moscow's Domodedovo airport as a special operation directed against the Russian people and Prime Minister Vladimir Putin. He added there'll be more attacks in pursuit of an independent Muslim state in Russia's Caucasus region. Southern Sudan's voted overwhelmingly to break away from the north. Election officials have confirmed 99% of voters backed secession. Africa's newest nation will be officially confirmed in July. Officials from North and South Korea have come together for the first dialogue between the two countries since September. The meeting will lay the groundwork for higher-level dialogue, possibly between ministers. South Korean delegates left for the border village of Panmunjom, where the military talks are being held. Tensions, of course, have been high on the Korean peninsula since the South accused the North of sinking its warship and killing 46 sailors last March.